but we will not be posting any of our lecture materials on the LinkedIn.
No, of course not. Yeah. It's just like for all of us to connect and
Yeah,
get to the network instead of everybody sharing their individual profile links.
understood.
So just share the link in this chat if anybody wants to join and connect on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Shall we start?
Yes, please.
Shall we start?
I am ready. Yes, please.
Okay. Anyway, first few minutes, I will just do the recap. I hope you got the materials for innovation, right?
Yes.
So while we wait for others to join, we'll just go through what we covered. We started with focusing of innovation as a domain, talked about product and process innovation. What are the differences? Then I talked about similarly on invention and discovery, stages of product development we have looked at. What are the characteristics of startup products? Classic way of looking at growth, which is product market grid, versus the new way of looking at growth, which is the need and futurism. And how do startups grow because of disruption? And where does it occur and how does it occur? What are the sources of disruption for founders? We focused on reshaping the world order, technology consumption, right? How technology is a beautiful help, but at the same time, it's also a pain. What is the relationship between technology, science, startups, different kinds of sciences that are available, different kinds of technologies that are available, and the essential feature being non-linearity. That is, the development is not predictable; it could be unpredictable. Generally, towards the positive side, though, in terms of the features and in terms of the capabilities. I talked about 5 types of innovation and the link between innovation and profitability. It is nice to be innovative, but it also has got its profit impact. Technological value chain, how does it work? What are the futurism aspects? And how do you define the technological forces that could govern, somewhat similar to the Porter's competitive forces theory? What are the generic technology strategies? How do you do customized product design? Then we moved on to the nexus between technology and management, digital entrepreneurship, digital transformation, the concerns of data privacy, which is a divide amongst the tech companies themselves, innovation perfection matrix, that is how much of innovation and how much of perfection. Innovation being something fundamentally new way of doing things, and perfection being, even if it is a known way, trying to do it as better as possible. And is there a concept of perfect innovation and what does it entail? What are the innovation successes and failures that we have encountered in our general public life? What is the innovation? What is the concept of innovation horizons? 3 types of innovation, 3 types of imitation, and how they should converge for the society to develop in the overall. We also talked about aspirational economics and aspirational individual. Countries will develop when the governments are aspirational or the economies are aspirational, and also individuals are aspirational. So with that, we concluded the innovation session, right?
Yes.
Okay. So any points on that? You have any questions to ask or points to supplement?
Professor, I have a question which is like kind of a follow-up from our last discussion itself. Uh, for example, when AI is coming in, everybody is trying to get into that. They want to just get started very soon. And few of the companies that I work with, they are also into the same bucket. They just want to get started with AI as soon as possible. And I was reading this study from Gartner yesterday, which says like 40% of the agentic AI projects would be closed by 2027. So this is more of a hype that they are going through. But still, companies are still getting into this without going into depth. They just do not want to get left behind. So the question that I'm trying to ask is like, how do we know when uh, the innovative idea that we are working on is validated versus when it is too deep? There's no clear line that I'm still able to draw.
See, fundamentally, AI cannot survive. or cannot grow in an organization where the knowledge level is very low. I think AI doesn't supplement, sorry, substitute for our knowledge deficiency or knowledge drought. Only when you are knowledgeable, AI makes that kind of advancement for you. The more knowledgeable you are, even in as per human sense today, the more effective AI will be. And many times you'll be able to cross-check what AI is saying, contextualize what AI is saying to what is the real situation for you. So to imagine that we will ask some questions, random questions based on somebody else's prompt engineering or somebody else's ideas, and we will get our job done is not a very healthy approach to deployment of AI. So if people deploy AI in that manner, whether it is conversational AI or agentic AI, it will not be very successful. And apparently, there are still limits to what AI can do. I don't know. It probably it's also dependent on the kind of subscriptions you have and the kind number of AI platforms you subscribe to.
Right, right. I think yeah, that actually relates because one of the person that I was working with, he wanted to do some policies using AI, but then he was missing some important elements, and that's when that legal perspective came into the mix, and then that person was able to think through that. Okay, AI did not provide this information which should have been in the policy. So yeah, I totally agree that having fundamental knowledge of the subject is very important. You cannot be on AI 100%.
Yeah. And also, I think the way it works, using one AI to do multiple things is also likely to lead to jumbled up situation. I mean, you got to have kind of horses for courses kind of stuff. Is you take tandem. I mean, you have one huge subscription for the company, and then every department chips in and tries to use it. I think the AI is going to definitely mix up the inputs.
That's right.
There is one. I don't. We haven't covered patenting as part of the innovation thing, right? I don't think so.
I don't
Yes,
think
sir.
so.
Yes, sir.
Have we covered or have we not covered?
No, no.
I have a short presentation on patenting. I mean, if you agree, I will take you through that.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Let me try. This is the share screen, right? We go through the share screen, right? That is the one which I need to.
It's next to the camera icon at the bottom.
Yeah, you got it,
Yes.
right?
Yes, right.
Okay,
You got it.
let me go full screen. Let me let me come back again. Get full screen. But why is it not going full screen? I'm sharing through a window. That is not the one in Google Meet.
I guess, do you have a dual screen setup, Professor?
Hmm? Yeah, ask me.
I was asking, like, do you have a two monitor setup or something? You have two screens, so maybe it's presenting the other screen, not the first one.
Hmm. Yeah, possible. But I have only one PPT which I'm trying to present. You're not seeing, right? You're not seeing.
Yes, sir.
Not
Not
at this
seeing.
time.
Hmm?
Not
Not
seeing.
at this time. No, we cannot see it now.
Okay. Even then it is going this way. It is just showing the screen, not really.
Can you try clicking the presentation icon, Professor, at the bottom before zoom out button?
Yeah, I, I think it.
Sorry.
But then I have to minimize now to get back to it. Or rather, I don't minimize, but I'll just go back to it. And it asks three questions. Chrome, the site will see able to see the contents of your screen. Chrome tab, window, entire screen. Entire, entire screen doesn't take you anywhere. Window shows my PPT. Chrome tab shows something else.
I think if you can do entire screen, then it would work better.
Hmm?
If you do entire screen, Professor, that would work better.
No,
Okay, now
shows.
you have to go back to the presentation and then I think it will start working.
Is it visible now?
Yes. Thank you.
Completely?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's a kind of thanks. It's an add-on to whatever you have seen through the materials. I just want to spend some time on patenting because inventing, innovating is of no use if you don't really patent why it is so. So this is the product staircase. The point I'm again bringing it out is that the patenting can take place at any stage. It is not necessary that we only have to have a patent and then only we will be able to start the work. It's not like that. So whenever you think of a disruptive technology, disruptive science, or disruptive way of doing things, at any stage of your developmental value chain, you can patent it. So, but before we go into that, let's clarify the difference between invention and innovation. I have talked about invention and discovery in the materials that I have given to you, because innovation is a kind of umbrella word which is used very commonly. So let's look at it. So invention is creating something which is entirely new. It could be a product, process, or idea, and it should not previously exist. Whereas innovation is the process of improving, modifying, or applying the existing ideas, products, or process. So that's why we say that food delivery application is an innovative application. It was always there as a process between two stakeholders, but then the whole idea has been flipped in a different way to result in digital food delivery, digital supported food delivery. Focus is on creating something new in case of innovation, and the focus in innovation is invention. The focus on innovation is in terms of implementing new ideas, novel ideas, better utility for the individuals, and commercializing the invention in a very innovative way. The relationship between stakeholders and the invention is a catalyst for innovation, because invention by itself will not lead you to something which is profound for the society. But innovation builds upon the inventions and probably weaves a business around the inventions and takes it forward. As far as entrepreneurship is concerned, invention sparks your idea that this is the initial way of doing things and serves as a foundation. Whereas innovation helps you to build an enterprise around the on the invention. So the examples of invention which I have talked about in the main course were light bulb, telephone, internet, etc. Whereas the examples of innovation, which you would have also seen as part of the various innovation typologies, is the smartphone, where a lot of convergence between across technologies has been there. Electric car, improving upon the traditional vehicles. So this innovation keeps on moving up, like hybrids, then electric cars, pure electric cars, plug and play. Then you have got CNG, flexi fuels. Then you have got a combination of various types of clean mobility, and finally green hydrogen. And we don't know what else will come, solar, etc. But in each case, there is a platform technology which is available, which is invented, and that is brought into play in innovating clean mobility solutions. So, in the context of entrepreneurship, invention is important as much as innovation and vice versa. Invention provides the initial idea, and that idea need not be entirely yours. Rather, the invention need not entirely be yours. It is available in the overall domain, and you feel that you can use that in an innovative way compared to others. Therefore, you start a viable business. But invention, in whichever form, is the fundamental source of competitive advantage. But innovation gives sustainability to the competitive advantage. Without innovation, the invention will be a kind of a museum piece, I would say. You require innovation to take the invention into the business arena with growth and making it useful for the society. As you know, some entrepreneurs are innovators, some entrepreneurs are inventors, but not all inventors are entrepreneurs. But the best situation is when all entrepreneurs are as innovative as possible and access invention as much as possible. That's because inventions can be accessed or licensed from whoever possesses the ownership of the inventions. But the way you use that could be very unique to your enterprise, to the entrepreneurial conduct of business. So an entrepreneurial venture succeeds well if it is backed by inventions and taken forward by innovations. In this process, patents offer legal support for protecting and leveraging those inventions, and that help the enterprise to go forward. So when we talk about patents, what is a patent? It is a legal right granted to the inventor by the government, and it gives them the exclusive right. Here, exclusive is important. That is only the grantee or the inventor can make that product, can use the product and sell that invention for a limited period. This right is not only a positive right, it is also a negative right. That is, it shuts out others from commercially exploiting the invention without the patent owner's consent. So it is a form of intellectual property protection, which is ironclad in developed countries for new and useful inventions. Why has this been thought about? This has been thought about because inventions typically require years of hard work and years of R&D investments with no returns during that period. Therefore, unless you have got monopoly protection for your intellectual property, you will not be incentivized to develop more intellectual property. But the patent also has got certain boundaries. It's not that it's perpetual. Exclusive rights are there, definitely, but it's for a specified period and certain territories. A patent, therefore, is an exclusive right granted for an invention. Patents benefit inventors by providing them with legal protection, and this spurs the investment and discovery process. There are several case studies that are available in the WIPO website, and I have given the link here to see how inventions have benefited various societies. Now, when you look at technology, about which we talked about a lot in the AV materials that have been provided, there are two types of technology in terms of the commercialization. One is proprietary, that is only you know. The other is non-proprietary, which everybody has. And within proprietary technology, you have a few things which are for immediate commercialization and there are a few things which are considered feasible, viable, and desirable, and therefore fit for commercialization. This is very obvious from the fact that developed companies have got as many as 6,000, 10,000 patents in their patent estates, but they don't have that many products or that many utilization features of their products using those inventions. They are there because somebody in laboratory thought about that particular invention and it may be of use in future. Then you have non-proprietary technology, which will lead to several value chain improvements. And it is very obvious, therefore, that we need to protect new technology through patents. To be patentable, what you must have? You should have a novel idea. That is, it has not been previously used or disclosed publicly anywhere in the world before the patent application is filed. It should be non-obvious. That is, replacing 4 tires today by 6 tires. Is it obvious or non-obvious? Is somewhat non-obvious, because if you have 6 tires, then obviously the load carrying capability will increase. They have already done with the 4 tires in the middle as well. So it is a non-inventive step. You can't patent the very process of adding tires to a particular truck. But if in that process you also get a drive mechanism which will handle the compressed space, and therefore you are able to steer the truck better, then probably it is non-obvious. Then you may get some inventive protection for that kind of. So, basic guideline is that AI should be novel, new. It should not be an obvious improvement or modification of existing technology. And whoever is skilled in the field should say that, Arey Baba, I know this. The third one is the applicability. The invention must have practical utility. I talked about inventions being there but not being used. But at the time of doing the invention, people will think that there's going to be practical utility at some point of time. Like the foldable phones have been patented years ago. You can say that nobody used it at that point of time. Why was it granted? That's because the patent reviewers thought, rightly so, that this invention will have practical utility. So many of the patented inventions will have that kind of futuristic requirement that is seen as a benchmark for grant of patent applications. These patent laws vary from country to country, and the core principles, however, are common. So there are many things which are patentable as per the above principles, but there are as many things which are non-patentable, provided they are also seen very vividly by everybody else, like laws of nature, pure mathematical algorithms. Although applications may be patentable, how you treat a patient is not patentable. But anything very specific, like using of a particular type of valve in heart malfunction, that could be patentable. And several other ethical and non-ethical considerations also are considered to find out whether a particular application is patentable or non-patentable. So how do you go about doing this patenting of any idea you have got? One, you have to prepare a draft patent application, and you make a decision whether that is patentable from your point of view, and you also make a decision on the type of patent required. We'll come to the type of patent a bit later. Then we'll talk about the correct office where you should file. I talked about the patents being territorial. It doesn't mean that one patent by US will give you global rights. Similarly, a patent by WIPO won't give global rights unless you follow certain procedures. So you have to decide which is your market which you are looking at. If you are saying that for perpetuity, I will not do any other marketing besides Indian marketing, then you should stay with Indian Patent Office. But on the other hand, you think that the US is the big market where I should be present, then you should look at filing in the US Patent Office. So once you make the filing, the Patent Office makes a formal examination and says whether it is maintainable or sustainable. And in that, they will check with the prior art that is available. They will also check as per the guidelines I talked about. But then they don't stay there. They say that this patent application should be published. That's where the patents, while providing patent rights, exclusive rights, monopoly rights, whatever name you call it, they also benefit the society and other inventors. Because once a patent application is filed, the world gets to know that somebody is thinking on a real novel way. And that could trigger additional inventions and additional innovative ways of doing things. Therefore, the preparation of patent application is a very knife edge walk kind of situation. You got to disclose something which is acceptable to the patent reviewer, but at the same time, you have to have something which is extremely proprietary or which you can use the information available in the patent application within your own four walls to do something which others cannot replicate. Then there should be a defense, because once you publish, many people will say that I knew this, there's this prior art, this is very non-obvious kind of invention. Then all that had to be defended by the applicant, apart from the questions which the patent office may raise. And once the patent is granted, that patent has to be maintained by the individual applicant depending on the patent rules. It may not be possible for an individual scientist or technologist to do all these activities by themselves. Therefore, you got to engage a legal firm or an experienced patent attorney to join with you in all these 6 steps which I have talked about. In this process, patenting search is a very critical step. That is, what is your idea and what are the key aspects of your idea? Those should be formulated into key terms. And once you have those key terms, you have to brainstorm with the databases as to whether somebody else has thought about it in an invention or in innovation. For that, you got to search the international patent databases so that you get related patents out of that. Then you download the relevant patents and examine them in detail to see whether you are infringing on any of those patents. Once you do that in a very objective manner, you got to determine the patentability through objectivity only, not because you are biased in favor of your patent. And in this process, these legal attorneys will be of great help because they're going to have a very technical, objective, and clinical review of whatever you have invented. And to do that, you have a Google patent search, US patent database, and other international databases. Before you subscribe to very sophisticated databases, these 3 databases will give you enormous amount of information for you to find out whether you should go forward or not. Amongst all the patent offices, US Patent Office is one of the, or is the premier patent office because of the underlying market opportunity that exists. So if you want to file in the USPTO, you have got all of these hyperlinked subject domains which you can search to be able to patent your product. Now we talked about the types of patents. What are those types of patents? Basically, there are 4 types which US Patent Office recognizes. One, the article of manufacture, that means the product. Second, composition of matter, that is, what did you use in making? A classic example will be battery. We know that lithium ion is the most popular battery material. Now, various rare earths are being used in those batteries. Rare magnets we are talking about. If you have a rare magnet without the magnetic material, performing the same utility in the car, then it becomes a composition of matter patent. Then you have a machine that can be patented. It could be a device also for medical purposes, and there could be a process by which you bring all of these things together. So now the characteristics are: 1, novel products, new uses for the product; intermixture of 2 or more products, creating a new material with properties not possessed by the base materials; a device that is not a mere aggregation of known components and devices, but delivers a new novel function in addition; and a series of novel steps to manufacture a product which are novel or established. While this has been happening, several countries have got together and felt that patenting individually is a challenge, both in terms of time and cost. Therefore, they started this patent cooperation treaty. And it is not kind of very modern thing. It has been there from 1970 as well. It came into existence in 1970. But if you are a business historian, you will be interested to know that intellectual property was a profound subject that attracted attention as back as in 1883. There was a Paris Convention for the protection of industrial property which took place in that year, and it was at that time that the Patent Cooperation Treaty process was initiated, although it was formalized in 1970. This PCT streamlines the initial filing process because when you are getting into a particular product, you don't know the final outcome of the product. So to think that I will market it only in the US or only in the European Union may not be the right thing. You should have the flexibility to market wherever you are. So PCT process, Patent Cooperation Treaty process, provides you a path to seek patent protection simultaneously in every country. In every country who is a member to the treaty, you can get priority. So you do an international patent application under the PCT route, and you get a particular period of time for you to decide when you can go for different country patents. The concept of common international patent, however, doesn't exist legally. It is a process by which the countries have agreed that we will admit with priority, provided somebody has gone through this PCT process. But important thing is you have to seek patent protection after the mandatory 30-month period or whatever to decide in which country you would be marketing this product, and therefore seek patent protection in that particular country. There are a number of reasons why PCT filings have taken off, because it is cheaper to initiate compared to doing everything in every country at first. It gives you a huge time period, 30 months, to decide the countries in which you want to receive the patent, and also it gives you the time frame for you to develop the idea or the apparatus further. And it also gives you the flexibility that you do not spend resources on features which the markets don't require. So you can be very focused once you start developing the product. Just as the USPTO gives a lot of information, PCT also gives you a lot of information that you can go through. In India, until we got into this TRIPS regime, our patenting infrastructure was very weak. But that has been substantially upgraded. We can make our patent filings in the Indian Patent Office, and because India is part of the PCT, whatever you file in India gets taken as a provisional application in the PCT route also. So the advantage is that you get the benefit of a PCT application without really filing in the PCT office in Europe, which could be cheaper for us doing it in India. And within that, you have got 6 different kinds of filings you can do for different levels of progress. Now, why are we discussing patenting? We are discussing patents because startups are immensely helped by patents. As you know, startups are a kind of in a land which is unknown. They want their ideas to be validated, but they don't know whether such validation is going to lead to theft of intellectual property. This is not so in big companies unless somebody really wants to be a thief for the intellectual property. There are enough safeguards with a big company, with a big laboratory to protect their intellectual property within the 4 walls of the lab. But startups are not like that. By nature, they are very extroverted. They want to really test their concept, but in the process, they may lose the intellectual property protection. So patents help the startups to do that. And the valuation also is dependent on the kind of patents you have. If a deep tech startup has got multiple patents, it's very likely that the valuation will be very high. Even if you are not a deep tech company, you are a digital company, but you have got patent for your innovative ways of doing certain activities, you might get a patent and therefore your valuation improves. There are many instructive cases of patent importance. Amazon, for example, obtained a patent in 1999 for one-click online purchase system, and that made Amazon dominate this e-commerce business for quite some time. It started with the dominance of the online book retailing, and then it got extended to the e-commerce. So 2 criteria are important. One, we should be the first to preempt the other, and the next is we should be the best to build the business model based on that preemption and the exclusivity that you get out of patent. Another classic example is Google. In 1998, it had its seminal PageRank patent, and it was so vital to them that what was the process until then, which they took it as normal happening, Somebody said that it should be really patented because this is going to be the heart of our search. And based on that, they have patented. And based on the patent, they have created a new business plan, venture funding, and even a domain name tender. And where did the basic technology come from? It came from Stanford University, and they have assigned the patent to them. And they also gave $336 million in shares to exclusively license it. Without that patent, said one analyst, Google would have been trampled by copycat search engine offerings from Yahoo, Microsoft, and other big players who once dominated the market even before Google. So you can see the importance of patenting something which is exceptionally inventive or innovative. Then there are many other instructive cases. Practice is a company in France. They were the finalists in the European Inventor Awards once. They invented a mobile phone antenna based on the fractal geometry. That is, you don't have to have a big antenna protruding outside for you to be a cell phone maker. So that helped the phones to become much smaller. As if anybody remembers, they were like, army phones with a big walkie-talkie kind of position, the first generation of cellular phones. Later on, they all became smaller. So, but the company which invented didn't have the capability to provide those kinds of internal antennas for the billions of smartphones that will be made. So they kind of licensed. And today, 90% of the world's smartphone makers were licensed by Fractus. So patents were very important to us, the founder says, not only in protecting our innovative technology, but also in expanding our market share. This is a case of patenting helping R&D partnerships and licensing, and is a win-win for everybody. Then you had this case between Honeywell and Nest, and ability for a particular company, even if the business is going down, the patent estate makes the company stand up and defend themselves and also grow. In the case of going to the public, that is the initial public offer, patent estate is one of the very important markers, particularly in tech area. So when Facebook wanted to go for IPO, it discovered that they didn't have any patent estate worth the name. So they acquired a huge numbers of patents and created the patent estate. Similarly, Twitter made a patent purchase from IBM after IPO because they committed in the IPO to do that way. Some of these things are not just for managing the IPO issue, they are also with an eye on the future developments that can take place once you have the patent estate with you, because you are having the use case. Only the technological foundation was open source or self-developed, but somebody else was not using it as of then, but somebody else could use it later. So having patent estate would help them. There are many cases of patents boosting business growth, besides what Amazon and Google kind of things. And many other smaller companies have grown to big companies because they had patent. Dropbox, you would have heard about the Dropbox startup being a document share collaborative company. Then you have Zynga's asynchronous challenge gaming patent. Square has a patented system for decoding the swipe card signals. There is a patented harness system on how the camera can be attached to a user, and of course the page ranking patent. Sorry. So Berkeley research project was there in 2008, which talked about patenting by entrepreneurs. It was an empirical study. It found that 67% of venture-backed startups reported that patents had been vital to them in securing investments. 40% of all startups had patents, and 80% of those receiving venture capital investment won patents. What does it mean? It means that venture capital flowed to companies which had patents. And 49% of manufacturing and service firms have used inventions from the external sources. It's not that everything was organic. Even big companies used inventions from others, and 14% of such things have been from a startup. So startup inventions had their own purpose besides making startups become big. Then there was also a follow-up study in 2015 on patents, innovation, and performance, which also strongly and positively predicted the long-run performance of VC-backed IPOs, provided they had these patent estates to support them. You can access the original article in Forbes. So where does it lead us to? It leads us to two issues. Whenever you have a product, you should have patentability for the product, not necessarily as a whole, even certain critical components of that. In a folding phone, if you have a mechanism by which you fold it in a more efficient way, and when it reduces the service problems, that is also patentable. So you can create a new foldable phone which is competing with Samsung with that kind of patentable capability of in system. So patentability is one aspect. Marketability is another aspect. If the patented component or product leads to huge cost, then the invention cannot be marketed through a product. So when patentability and marketability combine, you have successful and sustainable business growth. And all of these things are tested through your ideation, prototyping, testing, and patenting phases. So we come to the end of this small session on patenting. I hope it has been useful to you.
Yes, sir.
So I will make the PDF version of this available to our office, and they will circulate it to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Sir, and another thing is in that innovation video, that is four topics, some 22 pages didn't cover, I think.
That is the success and failures.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The three phases of innovation, innovation horizons, and motivational matrix, like the topic.
Yeah. So what is your precise question on this?
No, sir. Just informing. I understand this.
Yeah. That's thanks for flagging it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Patsadi.
Yeah. Could you please recall once how to guide the students to approach the banks and get support from banks, and what are the documents that are required to be submitted by students when they start the business after fourth year of BTech?
Yeah. See, banks typically look for the core idea and how you are going to make the idea work. So this is the key thing. So people talk about pitch deck, but the pitch deck which is talked about in normal terms is generally for the investor community who face maybe hundreds of proposals every day, and they have very short attention span. So a 10 to 11 slide summary is all what is required for approaching a VC. But banks are of different type. Banks are still bureaucratic, and they want to go through their rule system to be able to evaluate and finally grant the loan. So banks have a different requirement, which is trended off the normal company evaluation or project evaluation criteria. So you have to work on both sides. One, you need the basic idea, how you would implement, what is the organization you are having. In case you don't have technology, what are the likely sources? Let's say and it is not that everything has to be picture perfect when you start. Suppose you are a food processing company. It is perfectly all right to say that my technology source is from CFTRI. This is my memorandum of understanding on this particular thing. But later on, as you move on, suppose you get a food technologist as your chief technical officer who has got adequate technology, may not be going through that route. Ultimately, the startup will be judged by its delivery on the ground. But then you need a starting point, and that's where you have to make sure that whatever we discussed in terms of the requirements of those 4 slides on how you develop a startup enterprise. In that, the first 2 slides are on the kind of information that is required. What is the market I am addressing? What is the problem the customer is facing? What is the product or service I am offering? How is it reducing the pain or improving the quality of life? Like that, you got to build your case. Once you do that, I think banks will be attracted enough, and then they may give you additional guidelines which you got to develop.
Okay, thank you, sir. Great.
Thank you. While today's additional presentation may be a surprise, it is my intention to give one or two additional presentations in the next two sessions. Basically, these are the projects which have been thought about entrepreneurially by my class students, and how they develop their thinking process, and how those products are workable, of course, on a paper basis, but then still it demonstrates a thinking process. As I told you last time, critical thinking, the ability to think entrepreneurially is very important. The whole idea of entrepreneurship course is to enable our minds to think critically, think about a problem. First of all, be aware that there's a problem. Then think about the creative ways of solving the problem and making it sustainable as an innovative business. So how people have approached different academic projects is something which I would like to share over the next two sessions. And in your WhatsApp group also, you can share this information.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You got information on the quiz? Are you getting the assignments?
Yes, sir. Getting the assignments and forwarding, sir.
Yes, sir. What about you got the information on the quiz? Quiz are the final assignments, whatever you may say. No? You didn't get.
So right now you got assignment 4 more, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the final assignment is supposed to be to apply these 5 stages to any idea you may have. It is not that it is to be done as a project creator.
Okay.
If you had, let's say, you had an idea of a cotton fabric which won't soak in water and rain, just as an example. So how would you establish such a startup? What are the technologies you would look for? That kind of one pager or two pager. That is the final assignment.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, Shri Vishnu.
I have this question regarding
Yeah, please go ahead.
innovation. We all know about
Voice is not visible.
yeah, can you able to hear now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all speaking about innovation and stuff, and we all know there's a Rapido ban in Bangalore. So it was a Rapido was an innovation of making people travel by bike. So it's
Mm,
what it was not legal to make
mm,
people travel by our own personal vehicle. So it was
mm,
a law. So,
mm,
but how did Rapido make all those exception and still came to the market and win investors and still going on? And this is the recent ban since there is so much speculation, and I think there is something. The government might think since there is a lot of employment opportunities over there, so the government
mm,
might think about, okay, there is some regulation that we can do for this bike taxi. So it
mm,
was illegal to do. Now government is thinking about it. So even before their innovation stage, how did they convince? So it's always illegal. So if I'm going to say I'm making people to travel from one end to another using bike, so I obviously it's not legal in India. No one will fund
yeah.
me in those stuff.
Have you
So
got them? Have you got it?
See,
how did
their advantage was that different states had different views on this. So they were successful wherever the states were willing to look at it as an
We can copy
generator
paste
and as a competitive entry. That provided the help. But you're right in the sense that whenever we are trying to do something, we got to look at things which are non-technological. They could be in the public policy domain. It could be in various, like, you have the smart bike system, wherein you park your bikes everywhere. I mean, the company parks the bikes for anybody to use. Their issues could be on how they are managed by the users, what kind of maintenance they require, what is the level of responsibility of the users, and in case something goes wrong, what is the support which is going to be offered by police. I mean, police may turn around and say that you never asked me for police protection, and if so, it would have cost this much. You just created your own infrastructure and parked those kinds of things. And in some cases, they may be doing in strategic locations without corporation support, in which case they will get into issues as well. So the characteristic of these kinds of startup ventures has been that scale is right. That is, if you do things and you rapidly scale up, then everybody will fall in line. In India, at least in some states, on a case-by-case basis, everything doesn't fall in that particular thing. That's where things will, get down. So there was a pushback for the quick commerce also, no, when Zomato announced in a different way that deliveries will be affected in 10 minutes. But there was pushback. They said that it will lead to road accidents. We cannot make our people struggle. But the key of that, which is the dark store network, was held back by Zomato. They didn't talk about it. So there was a misconception on how they would achieve. But ultimately, you will find that even the 10 minutes Q-commerce delivery is at speeds which are within the road limits, road travel limits. So it is the innovation which is helping the company. So in this Rapido case, obviously the government has a case, in my opinion, as to regulate. Now, when you look at it, Rapido might be thinking that the entire, why did they enter the food delivery platform? They might be thinking that their entire business model is on the two-wheeler carriage of people, which could be always subject to some kind of government intervention. If some adverse cases come up because involving the rider and the pillion, then suddenly there will be a big backlash, and people may start stopping Rapido service in that particular town or state. So to protect, the business is getting expanded into other areas. Any other question? So if you have no other question, then we'll conclude today's discussion. We'll meet again.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.